Amid a rise in the number of those facing so-called lonely deaths in South Korea, some neighborhoods in the country are taking their efforts door to door to check on and speak with their neighbors who live alone. Shi-hoo reports.
Choi Young-myoung and Yoon-sook, residents of Dobong-gu in Dobong-gu District in Seoul, are on a special mission. After living in the area for over 30 years, they don't need a map to reach their destination, which is the home of a neighbor who lives alone. The greeting is followed by a check of how the neighbor is doing.
그래도 눈 아프시고 그래도 병원 계속 다니시죠?
네, 약은 계속 침침하고 이쪽은 반밖에 안 보여요. 시력을 잃어서.
그러니까 그래도 저 알아보시는데요? 알아보시잖아요.
Mrs. Choi and Mrs. Kim are part of an 8-person team in Dobong-gu, which cares for neighbors that live alone. They regularly visit and make phone calls to some 990 neighbors. When the two spot potential risks in their neighbors' lives, they connect them to a social worker who can provide the necessary help. The team also shares necessities such as bedding and food.
The positive thing about this work is easing the loneliness our neighbors feel. We listen to the stories of their difficulties and problems and become sort of like talking buddies.
Since we are neighbors, they sometimes feel they can share more than they would with social workers. We then work with the experts to solve problems, and it creates a more coordinated effect.
Such help is needed now more than ever, with more so-called lonely deaths occurring in South Korea. According to a report from last year, the number of people dying alone has been on the increase in recent years, a phenomenon that the government says has been caused in part by increased urbanization.
The community and voluntary efforts are needed to find these unseen neighbors. While it's important for public officials to monitor regularly, it's also important for other neighbors to check whether the lights go on and off and doors open and close.
What's needed is a community culture.
Most importantly, the community culture needs to be revived. While this can be difficult to achieve in today's competitive and individualistic society, the culture of solidarity and sharing needs to be in place for a long-term solution.
Meanwhile, the South Korean government is set to announce a comprehensive lonely death prevention plan within the first half of the year. Shi-hoo, Arirang News.